patience. It's the only thing they've told us for years.
We overthrew King George, but what did we replace him with? A handful of politicians who left us in misery? Washington's tales of honor don't feed our families. If Congress won't give us what we've earned, then we'll take it by our own justice.
This was a call to rebellion. But these words weren't whispered in an enemy British camp. They were spoken at the very heart of the American army, against George Washington himself. One of history's greatest victories was on the verge of turning into its most dangerous betrayal. Can the army that built a nation destroy it just the same? And how does a commander stop a rebellion, not with his sword, but with nothing more than his own weakness? 1783. The war was over. The world's most powerful empire, Britain, had bowed. America was free, and General George Washington, the architect of that victory, stood as one of the greatest heroes in history. But there's something history books often forget. The hardest battles sometimes begin after victory, and the true enemy was no longer red-coated British soldiers. It was the despair and betrayal from within. Months had passed since victory, but the promises remained unfulfilled. Congress had no money. The soldiers who had fought for years, who had left behind their families and their land, were never paid. Their uniforms had turned to rags, their stomachs growled with hunger. And in this moment of despair, a mysterious letter began to circulate within the army. The Newburgh letters, unsigned, yet its poison coursed through their veins. The letter called on the officers to rise up against Congress. "If peace does not bring you independence," wrote the shadowy author, "then do not lay down your arms. Overthrow Congress. Take what is rightfully yours by force." This was a call for a military coup. And in this secret plan, General Horatio Gates, Washington's rival, was set to take command of the army.
Your Excellency, the fire is spreading through the entire army. If we can't stop them, we'll strangle everything we fought for, this republic, with our own hands.
I know the pain these soldiers carry, Hamilton. I feel their hunger, their disappointment, every single day in my own heart. But if we take this path, are we not just replacing one tyrant with another? Will we build our own tyranny? The conspirators, excluding Washington, had arranged a secret meeting for March 15th. Their goal was to vote on a decision to rise in rebellion. They were certain Washington wouldn't attend. But Washington had a different plan. The general slowly walked to the front of the room. In his hand, he held a 9-page speech. With a cold, reasoned, and firm voice, he reminded them of their patriotism and their honor. He spoke of the dangers of pressuring Congress and of the sacredness of civilian rule.
Fine words, but fine words don't feed our children.
Washington realized his speech had not pierced their hearts. He saw it in their faces, cold, unyielding. The fire of rebellion still burned. In that moment, when everything seemed lost, when the Republic was about to die before it was even born, Washington made one final move. He said he would read a letter of support from a member of Congress, but he couldn't make out the words. Years of war, long sleepless nights over maps and reports had taken their toll on his eyes. After a brief hesitation, he did something no one in that room expected. He reached into his waistcoat pocket and pulled out something no one had ever seen him wear in public, a pair of glasses. And as he slowly put them on, he spoke a sentence that would echo through history, yet more powerful than any command. "Gentlemen, You will permit me to put on my spectacles, for I have not only grown gray but almost blind in the service of my country. In that moment, all the anger in the room, all the spirit of rebellion melted away. Standing before them was no longer an invincible general. Standing before them was a father figure, worn, aged, and someone who had given everything for them. What Washington could not achieve with a sword or a command, he had achieved with a pair of glasses and a moment of honest vulnerability. After Washington left, the motion to rebel was brought to a vote. It was unanimously rejected. The conspiracy died that day, in that very room. It was Washington's greatest victory. At Yorktown, he had defeated an army. At Newburgh, he had saved an idea, the spirit of the American Republic. That day, the principle of civilian rule over the military was sealed, not in blood, but in tears. George Washington would later be offered a crown, not once, but many times. But he always refused power, because he knew the most dangerous kind of power is the kind held by those who believe they deserve it. That day, in that room, the officers weren't just asking for back pay. They were asking for something far more dangerous, power. But Washington gave them something far more valuable in return: honor. History often tells the stories of generals who win wars, but sometimes the greatest act of heroism is choosing not to fight. George Washington refused a kingdom and saved a republic, not with his sword, but with his spectacles. History cannot be rewritten, but on echoes through time it lives again.